Jen, welcome to the Last Date podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, Danny.
So you started a singles community in Austin called Meet at the Mirror.
Yep.
What was the motivation behind that?
Yeah, so I started this about a couple years ago because I personally was frustrated with dating apps. And I had all of these awesome single friends. And I wanted to create a more intentional way for me and all of my single friends to meet other awesome single people. And so I ended up hosting a dating event with a friend a couple years ago, and it was a huge hit. We actually had a couple of couples that formed from it, and everyone was like, oh my goodness, this is so awesome. Please do more of these. So we did more of them, and we did more events, and I've probably hosted close to 60 dating events at this point. And so, yeah, the Mirror has kind of grown from that because through doing all of these events, we've created this community full of people who are just very intentional about how they do all things in life, you know, especially dating. And so, yeah, that's turned into the Mirror and this intentional dating community. And we have 12 or 13 couples that have formed. We have a couple that has a baby now.
Oh my gosh.
So we got like families growing.
That's so great. In such a short period of time. It's been a couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
amazing.
amazing.
But I think that really speaks to how people are just really hungry for just a more intentional approach to dating. And life is better when you like have someone to share it with. So
is there a particular methodology that you use in creating these events?
So I love to bring in depth and play. Those feel important because I think with the dating app culture, things just got a little superficial. They got a little materialistic. Like we got really good at having very superficial chats with people. Like, yeah, how long have you been in Austin? Like blah, 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 blah. And like, that's fine. But like, if you're really intentionally dating and dating for marriage and really to find a life or a lifelong partner, you know, it's important to bring some depth to those questions to really get to know this person. And so you'll find that at all of our events, there's a balance of like some depth, some intentionality, but also dating is already serious enough. So we always just bring in some elements of play and lightness and fun and just like curiosity and not taking yourself too seriously.
Can you give me some examples of the playfulness, like the activities that you do that's playful, and then some of the deep questions?
Adult Recess was probably one of our most popular events.
What was that?
Basically, think like recess games, like your favorite nostalgic recess games. Like relay races. Yeah.
Tetherball.
Yep. But then we put like a dating twist on it. And honestly, what better way to learn about someone than to see their competitive side come out? You really learn a lot about, you know, how they approach conflict and how they communicate and things like that.
What about some of the deep questions or deep activities that you have put together?
Yeah. So some of my favorite deeper questions are, what's something that your heart wants that your mind gets in the way of?
Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah. You really learn a lot about how someone answers that one.
Mm-hmm. You're not asking me right now, are you?
Yeah,
you're looking at me like you're looking in my soul.
But yeah, some people like, you just, you know, there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer, right? The whole idea is to ask some questions that people probably wouldn't normally think to ask on a first date.
Yeah. Just
to kind of like, you know, get them out of the typical routine and out of the performance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like with dating, there's just a lot of performing going on. And that's no way to really get to know who someone is at their core.
Yeah. Have you found a difference in the demographics of the people who show up to the events or who sign up to the events?
A difference in the demographics.
So I'm really thinking men versus women.
Yeah. So, okay, this is what always happens. So yeah, like I said, I've hosted like 60 events. I have a lot of data on this at this point. The women always sign up first. We always sell out the women's spots. The men typically take a little bit longer to sign up. We do always get men to sign up. We do always get equal numbers of men and women, but I do find that the women are a little bit more hungry for it. Interestingly, though, the day of the event, we usually get more women who cancel last minute than men. So I've noticed that if a man says he's going to come to the event, he is more likely to actually be there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I read an article recently that talked about a dating event in New York, and they were charging women and not charging men because they had a difficult time getting men to sign up for dating events. And in the one experience I've had trying to set up a dating event in Austin, I had 30 women sign up and 4 men, and we end up having to cancel the event because we didn't have the right ratio of people to make it a thing. But maybe if I had just waited until the day before, maybe those slots would have signed up.
Yeah, you probably would have sold like 20 spots the day of.
Yeah. So you have a really unique perspective because you can see what's going on within your singles group. So what are the challenges that men and women are facing in the dating culture right now?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you asked that question, because something that I've seen is this trend of the women are complaining that not enough men are approaching them in public. I think there's a lot of just frustration with dating apps, and I'm seeing this trend of people just kind of going back to in real life and women wanting to be approached by men. And there's some frustration there from the women. But then on the men's side, I've, personally had a lot of conversations with men who have said they very much want to approach more women in public, but there's like anxiety there. They've been just straight up very rudely rejected in the past by like women who were just kind of cold. So there's like this lack of empathy. Like the men really want to approach, and the women really want them to approach, but it's not, happening as much as I think it could.
So how do we bridge that gap?
Yeah, so we actually did an event like a month and a half ago with Joshua Wenner. He's an amazing men's coach, and it was all about the art of courting, because it very much is an art. It's an art that we forgot how to do through the age of dating apps, but it's an art that our parents were good at and, generations before. And I feel this trend of like coming back to just learning how to do that again. And it's an art on the man's side and the woman's side. Like there's a way for the man to do it, and there's also a way for a woman to, not necessarily lead, but to drop the handkerchief, sort of speak, and create an opening for a man to come in. And it's not just like making quick eye contact. Like you got to give a man like a little bit more than that, like some prolonged eye contact. Or, I can even share a story of a recent success story of mine. I was in the sauna at the gym, and this lovely man walked in, and I honestly wasn't even really thinking about like picking this man up or anything, but I was just trying to be nice, and I made some space for him on the top row. And he sat down and he said, "Thank you." And I was like, "Well, yeah, if you're going to be on the sauna, you got to be on the top row, because otherwise it's not worth it, because like the heat rises." And so that was like me being friendly and giving an opening.
Yeah.
And then he came in and started a conversation with me, and led a conversation that turned into him asking for my number. And it was super cute because we didn't have our phones, so we like had to memorize my phone number, and it was super
like the
cute.
old days.
Yeah. So yeah, but kind of going back to that event that we did, in this event we actually had the women practice approaching men, and the men practiced being approached. Interesting. Yeah, it was cool, because what we did is when we had the women practice approaching men, we told the men to be kind of cold and mean, but the women didn't know that we told them that. So then the women practiced approaching the men, and they got to experience what it was like to put themselves out there, and just be kind of straight up rejected.
What was the feedback?
They left with so much more empathy towards the men. And like the men felt so seen, but also on the flip, we also had the men practice being approached.
Yeah.
And having a woman kind of like invade their space.
Ooh.
So a man got to experience what it was like to kind of just be over the top approaching someone and be overly assertive when the person is actually trying to give you signals that like they're not interested, this isn't a good time. So they got to experience the flip side of what it's like to have their space invaded.
What a great exercise in empathy on both sides.
Yeah, it was so good. I personally got a lot out of it. I mean, I go two-stepping a lot, and it's a great place to meet people, and I also get men asking for my number often. And some of them have turned into dates. And then others, I really appreciate the man approaching me, but not interested in a date. And whereas before I would have gotten like really kind of frustrated and annoyed, like, no, like leave me alone. I'm just here to dance. I was like, no, I'm going to really acknowledge this man and the bravery that it took to come up to me. And, I'll keep it short. I'll be like, yeah, thank you so much for asking me. I'm not interested, but I really appreciate you coming up. And like, make sure he really feels that, yeah, I like really appreciate it. Like, please keep doing that. Please keep approaching women, but also read the woman's cues.
Yeah, 100%. I love that though. That's such a great, polite way to turn someone down. Also, it just softens the rejection in such a nice way. Yeah. What is the right way for a guy to approach and ask for your number?
This is a great question. I think for me, it's a little, it feels a little jarring if a man just comes in and is like, hey, you're beautiful. Can I have your number? Like that feels like a little bit of a invasion of space. And it's like, first, like make some rapport with me. Like, see if we even have rapport first.
Yeah.
Before diving in and asking for the number. Like, you want to get to know me too first, right? And yeah, I think there's a lot of different things. Like some things that we talked about in this workshop were, if a man just comes up to you and gets like really close and just like in your space, that doesn't feel safe. So there's like, body language type things that you can do, like approaching a woman from the side. So you're not like coming face on. So it's not like feeling as aggressive and more just like, hey, I'm here. I'm kind of interested in you, like, how's your day going? And I don't even really need like a crazy pickup line or anything like that.
When I talk to men, they struggle with knowing what the first thing to say is.
Yeah.
And what I tell them is just say hi.
Yeah, seriously.
I saw you over there and I wanted to say hi. That's it.
Yeah, I think honesty is great.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I saw you over there. I think you have a great smile. You've got some great energy.
Oh, you have some great energy. That's a good one. Yeah. I also say wearing, holding, doing. So what are they wearing? What are they holding? What are they doing? And if you can comment on one of those things, that gets the conversation started. So if they're holding a dog, you can comment on the dog.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, when in doubt, just don't overthink.
Yeah, 100%. I've noticed that men and women are more polarized than ever. What is something that you think each side should learn about the other side?
Women, we have been more socialized to wear our feelings like more on our sleeve. But I think even just in all of my relationships, I've always been very humbled by how much the men I've dated have like really felt and how emotional they really have been. And I think there's a lot of women who really want an emotionally available man. Like they'll really say that. But then the moment a man is actually being really emotionally available and vulnerable, I know in my experience, I just like haven't always known what to do with that. Like it's been a learning lesson for me. And I think just like on both sides, not trying to change the other person, like just asking what they need. Rather than going into like, let me try to change or like find a solution here. I think genuine curiosity just goes a really long way in relationships in any sort of setting. If someone's doing something and you're like, why are they doing that? Or like, why would they do that? Instead of like coming at it from this judgment angle. Wow, I wonder what's going on in their mind or like what is going on in their life or their upbringing that is making them like do this thing or act this way, like coming from a more genuinely curious place rather than like jumping to assumptions, jumping to conclusions. That's actually one of our biggest values in our mirror community is curiosity and assuming good intent.
That's so good. Yeah, and I think on the micro level, that absolutely applies in relationships. And I think on the macro level, between men and women, that curiosity would be really beneficial to try to understand, why is the other side upset about this? Like, I'm hearing them say this thing. Is there any truth to that? Or what is their narrative and why?
Yeah.
One thing that I recommend people do is get on the dating apps as the other side. So if you're a man, experience the dating apps from the perspective of a woman and vice versa. And you will see why each side is complaining about their experience. But I think we make a lot of assumptions about the other side's experience. Everyone thinks the other side has it easier, and they don't.
Yeah. 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 That's a good exercise there. Yeah. And it's like, blame doesn't do any good. Like, it really just doesn't get us anywhere. If we just go around blaming men, blaming women, blaming our boss, blaming our parents, like, it's just a very disempowering place to be.
So one thing that I've experienced with Crux is that I have a hard time getting men interested in joining something that's intentional. I'm curious about your experience. Have you noticed that trend at all, or is that not what you're experiencing at the Mirror?
Like, men not being intentional about dating?
Yeah, men just not being as interested in joining a space that is for intentional dating.
Yeah, I don't experience it as much at the Mirror because the messaging is very just intentional focused. So if someone didn't value that, they're just not even drawn to the community. So I'm super curious what you're picking up on and what you're experiencing.
Yeah, so I've asked men why they're not interested, because it's not really a payment thing, because at first it was free for a year and I couldn't get men interested. And then I made a paid model just so that I could get people interested, so that they would think there was value. And even the men who are paying, it's a pay for success. So they can join, I can give them a match, they can even go on the date. And if they don't want to go on a second date with the woman, or the woman doesn't want to go out on a second date with them, they don't pay. So it's literally the only pay for success model that I know of that exists. So there's no disincentive to joining and seeing who's in the database and who they're going to get matched with and whether this works. So it's not money. I've cultivated a group of people who are the most eligible singles in Austin. So it's a very curated group of people.
Did you have success with men signing up for that?
No, that's my current model now. Okay. And I have a really tough time. So let me skip ahead to the feedback that I've gotten.
Yeah.
They say that they don't want to feel like they need help dating. And a lot of the guys that I reach out to, they're very attractive. They have a lot going for them. And they don't really need help, quote unquote. But if we're talking about finding compatible matches and cutting through all the noise and saving time and being efficient, it would seem like this model would be appealing. And I created this model based on what I would have wanted a few years ago. I'm in a relationship now, so it's moot for me, but this is what I would have wanted if I were dating intentionally and I wanted to meet a partner. Yeah. The other reason I've gotten was they want to feel like they're more in control. And I think what they mean is they want to swipe through a bunch of profiles and choose. And I've gotten the feedback that they want to feel like they're being chosen. They don't want someone behind the scenes just matching them together. They want to feel chosen by the person that they're going on a date with. Which, by the way, that does happen. Like, when I send an email and I'm like, hey, do you want to go out on a date with this guy? They have to say yes. I don't just throw them on a date against their will. So, it's a really strange phenomenon, because I have considerably more women in the database than I have men, because I cannot get men interested in this, regardless of having the most beautiful, amazing women in Austin. Yeah,
that's so fascinating and also not shocking too. It's kind of sad that men kind of, look at that as maybe it's seen as like there's some desperation there. But I think there's also just like a reframe there, because I've experienced this in selling matchmaking too. And my answer to the desperation question is like, well, You're a successful person. You do a lot of things, you make money, you have all the things. You're too busy to be swiping. You're too busy to leave one of the most important aspects of your life, your love life, to just chance and randomness. So why not hire an expert, a matchmaker, who does this for a living, who has access to many people and compatibility insights?
Yeah.
Why not delegate that? You delegate everything else in your life. Why not delegate that? That feels like a great option, actually. That doesn't feel desperate at all. That feels smart.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better myself. I want to talk to you about compatibility in a second. I want to make sure that I'm making a note right now to ask you about that, because I want to know your thoughts on what makes people compatible and how you have brought that knowledge into your own dating life and what you're looking for in a partner. But before we get there, I want to talk about one other thing that I think is going on with the dating culture and men not being interested in joining, say, a matchmaking service.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lack of men who are in relationships who are saying, this is the benefit of being in a relationship. This is actually awesome. Because I think a lot of men see this path of, wow, I have this great life. I have a great job. I have great friends. And in our current dating culture, you can date casually and you can have casual sex, and men are getting a lot of what they want. And I think the missing piece is an understanding of, well, what is the benefit of being in a long-term committed relationship? And I wish that more men would talk about that. So for example, Alex Hormozy is a man that a lot of people respect.
Yeah.
He does talk about that. And I think that's so great. Chris Williamson, and I don't know anything about Chris Williamson, but he's a 38-year-old guy who's not in a relationship. And I wonder, and again, I don't know Chris on this, so I wonder if he's one of these guys who doesn't really see the benefit of the path because of being in a relationship, because I imagine that he has tons of options. He's living this life that seemingly from the outside looks really fun, and he's very successful in doing things that he seemingly enjoys. So why tie himself down? And so I think a lot of young men, or even middle-aged men, because I was there 2 years ago. I had that similar perspective of why do I want to be in a long-term relationship? My life is awesome, and I don't have trouble getting dates or even being in short-term relationships. And so I wonder if young men are having a difficult time understanding what the benefits are, and therefore are not intentionally dating or even shirking away from it.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're definitely onto something there. And looking at what's going on I think society influences us a lot more than we admit.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so great. What's Alex Hormozy's wife?
I don't know.
But yeah, I see their content all the time and I love it because they're constantly building each other up.
Yeah.
They are each other's personal cheerleader. And that's what a romantic partner can be. A personal cheerleader. If curiosity is at the root of that relationship rather than judgment, And I don't know anything about Chris Williamson either, but maybe there's something there with perfectionism, and I know we're going to talk about compatibility because that can be a whole thing. The grass is always going to be greener. There's always going to be someone that on paper looks a little bit more compatible than the person that you're with. But what I like to come back to is I'm almost 35. I've been in, a number of relationships. I think my longest was like 2 years. And so I have an idea of what love is, but I have no idea what love is compared to an old couple that has been together for 50, 60 years. And they have done life together. They have done all of the things. They have broken up so many times, gotten back together, been through so many hard moments, repaired on the other side of that, and deepened on the other side. Like, that is a love that I cannot wait to have. But that is a love that you're not going to experience if, you just wait. You just keep waiting and waiting, or, date someone, break up, date someone else, break up when things get hard, date someone else, break up when things get hard, like all of that.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into compatibility.
Let's do it.
So what have you discovered makes people compatible, and how have you used that in your own dating life to find your partner?
Yeah. So, I think it really comes down to having some shared values and shared vision. So I'll talk about values first. And you can even just look up like a list of values. Like there's hundreds of values, like faith, fitness, all sorts of things. And they might all sound good. And this is what I tell my matchmaking clients. All of these values, like kindness, financial stability, all of these things might sound good. But the idea is to pick the non-negotiable ones, like your top 3, maybe 4. So for me, like that's faith. Like he's got to be Christ-centered. Fitness, takes care of his body, and family, like very much wants to have a family. Everything else can be like nice to haves. If you have too many things on the must-have list, you're just going to end up 60 years old, single. I'm sorry, you are. So shared values and then shared vision, having some sort of clarity on where you're going in life with the understanding that, that might change, but at least having some sort of clarity there and seeing some overlap in that vision with the other person.
Real quick, what percentage of your clients already know what their vision is for themselves when you ask them that question?
Yeah, I'd say a good amount.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like that's something that people are less like?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my would have been my hypothesis, is that few people would be able to answer that question directly and be like, oh, this is how I want my life to look. And
yeah. Well, I'll caveat that by saying, usually when I ask that question to my clients, they have to think about it. Like it turns into a bit of like a discovery conversation.
Okay,
and the idea is not to be like, this is my 5-year, 10-year plan. This is exactly what my life isn't going to look like, because God might have some other plans, and so having some unattachment there. But it can still be helpful in just, making sure, is this person going to go like be a missionary in Africa? Like this person wants to like be in Austin, build a family, like making sure there's no major like, discrepancies there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that both of those categories, so values and vision, are really important to understand for ourselves first before going out in the world to see if
100%,
you can find a partner who's going to be compatible with those things. And that was kind of my hypothesis. I don't think a lot of people have undergone that exercise for themselves. And if you don't, then how do you really know what you're looking for and who's going to be a good partner for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's why dating can, it's very exploratory.
Yeah.
It's, that's why I always recommend, to myself and to clients to date a variety of people. Because you don't really know what you want until you date it. And you don't really know what you don't want until you date it.
Yeah.
So go on some dates.
Yeah.
And like, you can even just throw away the word date. Like,
Tell me more.
Get to know people.
Yeah.
Get to know people without the pressure of like, is this a date? Are you my husband? I'll be the first to admit I still go on dates and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, is this my husband? But I shut it down. I quiet the voice. I'm like, nope, we're just getting to know this person.
Yeah. So I spoke with a woman who did a manifestation exercise, and she was writing out how she would want a man to be in her life and treat her. How would she want this man to treat her? And she did this it was actually a letter to him, thanking him for the way that he shows up for her.
Yeah.
And then I think, I can't remember exactly when it was. It was like 2 weeks later or something. She met her now boyfriend, and they've been together for a couple of years. But I think what's going on there is something similar, where she's actually sitting down and figuring out, these are the qualities that I want in a partnership. And then it becomes easier for her brain to spot those people, versus I think a lot of us just go out in the world and they're like, who's going to spark us? Who's going to make us feel good, you know? And we haven't done the work to figure out, well, who are we first? And then who's going to be the person that fits with me? And I think a great place to start is something that Logan Ury says, which is, how do we want to feel in this partnership versus what are the qualities that I want this person to have? Because the way we're going to feel with this person is the way we're going to feel throughout the whole relationship. And so for me, when I did this exercise, it was, I want to feel calm. And going to your point of sometimes we need to date people to know what we don't want or how we don't want to feel. I was always feeling immense pressure, or I was feeling like trapped almost, or feeling like they needed too much from me. And of course, this is my avoidant stuff. But what I realized is that, hey, if I want to feel calm in a relationship, two things need to happen. I need to do some inner work, and I need to find a partner who's going to help me feel calm. So after doing that exercise, which I didn't intend for it to be a manifestation exercise, I ended up meeting my girlfriend about 6 months later.
Amazing. Yeah, it really works. And I think like the reticular activating nervous system is actually like the part of your brain that like is identifying. You're priming that part of the brain. So then it can, like, because those women were always in your life, but now you can just see them.
Yeah.
Right? Because our brains, like, there's so much around, you know?
Yeah.
It's like the analogy of you want to buy a red car. And then all of a sudden, there was always red cars. But now that you're focused on buying the red car, now that you got that clarity of like, yeah, I'm going to buy a red car, now you see red cars everywhere. Yeah,
exactly. So, all right, hot tip for people: sit down and do a journaling exercise and figure out your core values and the vision for your life. And then,
yeah, it can be like 5 minutes, super chill. Take yourself out to coffee, like make it a nice thing.
So how have you integrated this practice of understanding your values and vision in terms of calling in your partner?
So I wasn't really dating for a period of time because I was coming off of a breakup, and then I was really focusing on building my business. So didn't really have a capacity to date. But I'd say a couple months ago is when, maybe even just like a month ago, I redid this exercise. And one of the most powerful things that I did was really just like basically cut that list down to like those non-negotiables, like the faith and the fitness and the family. And I've honestly had like some really lovely dates since then.
Cool, it works.
With men. Yeah. Like I was basically invisible to men for a while, and I just didn't have capacity to date. So I think I was probably giving off like some resting, just go away face or something. Like just no one was asking my number. And then like a few weeks ago, the veil lifted and I was getting a number like every single day, like at the gym, at church, two-stepping. And I ended up going on some dates with some really, really lovely men who I wouldn't have noticed in the past. But because they were like faith, family, fitness, like very intentional, very interested in getting to know me. Like I had really lovely dates. Like I barely even got to even ask them a question. They were just like really curious to get to know me. And that's definitely like part of my love language, like ask me questions, because I love to ask questions. So, because I get really curious about people. So when someone else like shows that curiosity towards me, it feels really good. So
it sounds like curiosity is another value of yours too. Yeah. Why wouldn't you have noticed those men in the past?
Because I didn't do the exercise, Danny.
Gotcha.
Because I think I was too critical. I was too critical. Yeah, I actually don't even know what one of these men does for a living. I have no idea. Like we spent a few hours together and we didn't talk about work at all. And that was lovely. I want to know what he does for a living. Like it's important to me. Like I've got a successful business going, and, I want to be with someone who can also provide for our future family as well. But like, I don't need to like know that right out of the gate.
Yeah.
You know, like, because we ended up talking mostly about health and faith and wanting to have a family someday. And
You hit all three in one date.
yeah. Yeah. He even asked me, it was like super sweet. He was like, what are your goals? And I ended up like mostly talking about work. And he was like, oh, my goals are to have a family. And I was like, oh, that's a good answer. Can I take that back?
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
What made those dates, in addition to the conversation, so lovely?
Well, they definitely both, I'm just speaking of like these two most recent ones. They both led the date. They both like picked the space that we were going to meet at and the time. They were really just gentlemen. And, you know, it wasn't like some big fancy dinner. Like we went to Veracruz on one of them. Went to get ice cream on the other one. Like it was a really cheap date, but, you know, they paid for the date. Mm-hmm. And, and like I said earlier, they just kept asking me questions.
How did you feel on the dates?
I had fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt seen. And I felt like, yeah, this person is just curious about me.
So going back to the singles community, Meet at the Mirror.
Yep.
Do you date within your own community at all?
I have. Yeah. Yeah. So I actually ended up dating a man who was in my community. We dated for like 8 or 9 months. And it was a beautiful relationship. But it ended. But yeah, I'm a perfect example of how the community works.
A lot of people are fearful of dating within their communities.
Yeah, for fear of breakup.
Exactly, yeah. And they're not even running their community, so.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And I even get that question from people in my community. They're like, I love that this is a community, but also I feel a little awkward about coming to this event because someone that I was dating for a little bit is also going to be at this event. And I just think it's a great opportunity to be an adult. And I can also take some of this medicine for myself as well. You know, like if you can't be in the same room as someone, whether it's an ex, different political beliefs, like that's a you thing, not a them thing, not a situation thing. Mm-hmm. So let's be adults here.
So just show up anyway. Yeah.
And boundaries. Boundaries are a beautiful gift.
Yeah. Can you give examples of some boundaries that someone could draw in a healthy way in that situation?
Like I don't talk to my exes. I just don't think that there's anything to gain from that. It just feels like kind of open and nebulous if there's still communication there. So yeah, if my ex were at an event, there wouldn't be a desire to talk there. And if there was a desire for that, well, I mean, I've made it pretty clear with my exes that we don't need to have communication here. But I think clarity is kindness, you know, like no hard feelings, but I'm not open to a conversation here. But I'm going to enjoy this event, and I hope you enjoy this event as well.
Sounds like you've been meeting a lot of people in real life. So you mentioned two-stepping, you mentioned at the gym. Are you...
As of like a couple of weeks ago.
Are you ever on the dating apps? And for the people who come to you for advice, do you ever recommend that they go on dating apps?
So I have not been on a dating app in a few years. But I think they can be a great option. I think they can be a great tool. I think there are some smart ways to use them and some not so smart ways to use them. Again, boundaries and having time constraints around how they're being used feels important. And also, you know, when I was on the dating apps, I had my little superficial checklist. I went to his height. I went to what he did for a living. I'm just being really honest.
Yeah, glad you are.
That's what I did.
I think that's what most people do, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't like that I do this. So I could have easily swiped no on someone who could have been a yes because I had that superficial checklist.
Yeah.
You know, and we see this at our events. We have a couple who's married now, And she explicitly said, yeah, if I met this man on a dating app, I wouldn't have swiped yes on him. Because things about the same thing, height, career, like religious things. But then they met in person and that checklist didn't matter. Or it's not so much that it didn't matter, but qualities that she felt in him in person were more important.
Yes.
And that's where I think there's the truth of sometimes you don't know what you want until you just experience it in person. Because I was just really going off the checklist that society told me that I needed to have. I just need some tall finance guy.
Right.
And not even making like talking about that song. Like that's what I would look for.
Yeah. Well, the 6 foot thing, I think, in social media and in our culture has become a standard. And I think there are some women who probably have had that seed planted in their head without really questioning, do I really need a guy who's 6 foot? Could I be attracted to a guy who's 5'9" or 5'10"?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. And I'm one of them. Like it's not even a thing anymore. Like height.
That's great.
And my friends used to always give me crap in my 20s for only dating men a foot taller than me. And now it's like, I could care less.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone who doesn't fly off the page on a dating app? They're not one of the bright and shiny options that when you're swiping through and you're seeing a bunch of bright, shiny options, when you compare them next to each other, they tend to not get swiped right on.
Yeah. I think there is a way to make your personality come alive on a dating app, for sure. I mean, if you're someone who's intentionally dating, you can get pretty far ahead just by, writing more than a couple of words for some of the prompts. Like adding details, adding some uniqueness, adding a little bit of wit, really sitting down to take some time to really just fill it out. And, not just be like, where do you like to go to eat tacos? Like, not just... And I think yours is some really good advice. It's been a couple of years since I've been on dating apps, so I don't really remember. I just remember there was a lot of, like, tacos and margaritas and, like, fish pics.
Yeah.
I was always really drawn if I came across a profile and there was a lot of text. Like, that really was attractive to me, even if the pictures weren't super attractive. If I could tell that he put some work into this dating profile, because that tells me a few things. One, I just learn a lot more about him from the profile because it's more complete, but it also tells me how you do one thing is how you do everything, and he's putting intentionality into this. So I know he's likely going to be someone who's going to put intentionality into how he courts me and how he builds his business, how he approaches family. So yeah, when in doubt, fill that thing out.
I love it. If the glove don't fit.
Exactly.
I think also getting to know people over time, or letting people get to know you over time, is a good one. Because I've heard stories of people who didn't see the guy who was kind of in the background on their volleyball team. And then as they got to know them over time, they're like, oh, like he's really like funny and in this quiet way. And then the attraction builds. And so I think that's a good method.
Yeah, and that's part of my thesis behind creating this dating community, is because I'm already seeing it in the mirror. People come to an event and then they come to another event, and so now they've met this person 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of stories of like that turning into something where it started off as a friendship and then, turned into something just like more romantic. Yeah. And I think that's how we used to do it, right? Before dating apps, like you ended up marrying that guy that you were friends with for a while, that you kept running into the grocery store and the post office when we did those things.
Yeah, it feels like the world has gotten too big sometimes.
Yeah.
Because there's that infinite option problem again, right? You stop looking at the people around you. And we even stop having repeat interactions with people because we aren't really joining communities as much anymore.
Totally. Yeah, and it's a shame. And I think we're community beings.
Yeah.
We're meant to be in community. We're meant to be in real life connection. So
What have you learned about dating and relationships that you wish you had known from the start?
Too many things, Danny.
We've got time.
It's not about winning the fight. It's just not.
What's it about? You're talking to a lawyer, so.
Relationships in their nature are between two people with very different, completely different lives, different ways of viewing the world. And so there's always going to be some level of compromise, not like in a self-sacrificing way. Like, I'm not saying don't think that your needs aren't important. But I think what we see too much in dating and relationships is it's very like transactional. And I was totally guilty of this. I would date someone until they didn't make me happy anymore. And until I thought I outgrew them, or, I thought I could get something better. And it was just very like me. Mm-hmm. How can this person serve me? What can I get out of this person? Mm-hmm. And that just doesn't work. If both people can come into a relationship of how can I build this person up? How can I serve them? Mm-hmm. That's what I wish I learned.
Well said. Yeah.
And again, easier said than done. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Like we're geared to be selfish.
Yeah.
We're just innately geared that way. We think it's protective. Mm-hmm. But I think this dating world could just really benefit from a lot more just like curiosity and selflessness. How can I serve? Mm-hmm. Rather than what can I get?
There's a level of fulfillment or purpose that I now get in my relationship because I am more focused on what can I give her versus what am I getting. And I've heard this advice and I agree with it, is don't keep score. Yeah. Right. And if you want something from your relationship, obviously ask for it. Right. Mm-hmm. But don't keep score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because no one's going to win.
Right.
It's a losing battle.
Right. What is the best date that you've been on in the last, say, year or two? And what made that such a good date?
Yeah, honestly, I'd say it was probably just one of the more recent ones that I had. It was really simple. He just picked me up and we got tacos. And I think what was so great about it is just how intentional he was with asking me questions. Like, I don't need anything super fancy. I mean, I love a good dinner. I love an excuse to get dressed up. But he was just so present with me too. So present, just so curious to get to know me. It was even cute at one point. We didn't have a lot of time because we both had to get somewhere. And so at one point he even paused and was like, okay, 1 second. And he was like trying to think about what questions he wanted to ask me to maximize the rest of our time together. I thought it was super cute.
That is cute.
Yeah. I was like, wow, this is adorable.
Who texted first after that date?
Probably he did.
Okay. And then what was the timing of that? Because I've had guys recently ask me hey, when do I need a text? Or or what's the proper amount of time to wait to text? So I'm curious in your experience, what happened and how did you feel about it?
Yeah, I think he did it pretty immediately. Or it was the following morning.
Yeah.
I'm always a fan of that. If I don't hear from him that night or the next morning, I'm like, where'd you go, buddy?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not for games.
Yeah.
I know there used to be this 3-day rule thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm just I don't know. What's the point? If you're dating for marriage, if you're dating to find a partner, why play games like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe it's cool. Is that the argument that it's cool to wait a little bit to make him sweat a little bit?
Yeah, I think the argument is not to come across over eager or needy and to give it some space to breathe. But I'm with you. I think that the next morning is the right way to do it. Yeah. My advice a couple of years ago probably would have been a little different. It would have been to wait a day or two before texting after the first date.
And what would your argument have been for that?
Oh, don't come across overeager and make them kind of want you or make them think about you a little bit more. Why isn't he texting? And that keeps you in their mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I disagree with that advice now, particularly if you are dating intentionally. I think,
Yeah.
like you said,
If you want
no need
games,
for game.
play
Yeah.
games. Like, that's it. If you're dating intentionally, don't play games.
Right. And I think that there has been a little bit of a shift in
Yeah, totally.
people catching on to that type of game. And so I don't even think well, my theory is that probably doesn't work as well anymore, because people are like, I know what you're doing, and I don't like, I know you're playing a game and I don't like it, even if it's not a long-term intention.
Yeah, I feel like I have noticed that too, which makes me happy that it's just becoming more cool to not play those games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say, like, texting that night or, the morning after and not wanting to seem too eager. Like, don't send like a follow-up and then a couple hours later, like a follow-up and then like a follow-up.
Right.
That feels like a little love bomby, or, there's like some anxious attachment there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love a good, short, direct, that was really great. I look forward to seeing you again. Let's make it happen. Something that's really helped me, and even in business too, like, just whenever I'm responding about anything, just like checking in to see how centered I'm at. Like, am I emailing this person from a place of like fear, scarcity, or just centeredness?
That's really good advice. Checking in about how you feel when you're sending it. What is the intention behind this? What am I trying to do?
Because they'll feel it, they'll feel it.
That's really good advice. Yeah. What are pain points that members of your community have expressed to you?
I still hear that there's a lot of ghosting that, still happens.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a side effect of the dating apps. People just became these disposable profiles that we could just stop talking to because they weren't actually a real person. They were just this profile on an app.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think that's kind of come out into just regular culture as well. We could all benefit from just clearer communication. I'm totally guilty of that as well. Maybe not necessarily ghosting, but like just getting busy with things and then, taking a while to respond. But even there, I'm trying to be better. Like, hey, thanks for your patience. I'm in a busy period. I'm going to get to your message when I have some time in XYZ days. So.
We have a mutual friend who talks about closing the loop. And one of his rules was, after a first date, I have 24 hours to close the loop. And it's a decision whether I want a second date or not. But I have 24 hours to decide.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
I really like that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you close the loop and and there's no like loose energy there.
Yeah.
Like, what if?
Right. And that's beneficial for both sides.
Yeah.
With your recent faith, has that changed your dating life at all?
Yeah, I'd say faith has just become my most important value now. So of the 3 values that I listed, it's definitely the first thing that I look for. It's just something that's really attractive to me now. Like, someone who, not only is of the faith, but who really does just put Christ at the center of everything that they do and just really strives to be more Christ-like in everything that they do. So yeah, I'd say that's just become a bigger thing that I look for and that I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
So.
Have you noticed a difference in the qualities of the people that you've been dating, or even like, I don't know, the types of dates that you've been going on or anything?
Oh, totally. I mean, I have lots of stories here because I feel like part of my faith journey is I was in the spiritual community for a while here in Austin, like the New Age community there, and dated a lot of men in that community.
Okay.
I won't say any names. And this is my personal experience. I just really started to feel something was like just very off there. Like, there's lots of talk about like healing and conscious communication and doing all of these things, but it just felt like a lot of talk and no action. Like saying all of the right things, but not actually embodying what they were teaching. And so something that I really noticed in the Christian community, and I'll be the first to say, I actually started to go to church because I just wanted to date some Christian men. I was like, I need a change from these spiritual boys over here who feel like they're just like floating up in the clouds. And yeah, I mean, they're just very family oriented, very intentional, rooted in something bigger than themselves, and curious and very service minded.
Yeah, those are great qualities.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned on our call was going to the places where your man is going to be.
Yeah.
And so church obviously is a great one. And then you mentioned two-stepping as well.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're trying to get off the dating apps, and that's part of why the Mirror exists too, because we host dating events, but we also just created a platform where people can share their plans and their interests with other people. It's kind of like a faith-based particle. So the idea is share what you're doing with other like-minded people, the things that you love doing, like two-stepping, hiking, sports, nature, church, networking, worship nights, whatever it is. Keep doing the things that you love to do because your person is probably there.
That's great.
And that's a way more fun way to meet them.
Absolutely. Doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It kills two birds with one stone. You're living your life, having fun, and meeting some like-minded people along the way. So
that's great. Well, cool. Well, thank you again.
That was great, Danny. I'm just glad that we finally got the chance to sit down and chat about this. I know you and I have both been in the dating and matchmaking space in Austin for a while, and it's just been super fun to collaborate. And yeah, if there's any, Christian singles and out there listening, the Mirror is Austin's newest faith-based community for dating and also just community building for finding new faith-based friends. So give us a check out if you're interested. And yeah, otherwise I'm just really grateful for this opportunity, Danny.
Maybe one day I'll get to Chris Williamson level.
Yeah, how is he single?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like, you have to choose kind of to be single when you're in that circumstance. Like, here's a high level guy with tons of options. Like, women are probably throwing themselves at him, and like he could choose like to settle down with one of them, but he's choosing not to, clearly. And here's the thing too. Like, it's funny because as a matchmaker, I'm like, I don't think that a relationship is necessarily the right path for everybody, right? Like, I think that some people are just not built for it, or the amount of inner work that it would take to get to a point where that would be beneficial for them isn't worth it. But I think in the vast majority of cases, a partnership really is beneficial. And in my personal experience, I was certainly in a place where I wasn't interested in a partnership. I definitely wasn't Chris Williamson level, but like I had a good life and I had options, and I was like, why would I choose to tie myself down and settle down? But what I have found, and maybe just I had to go through this journey to discover this, is that the amount of support and nurturing that I get from my partner really enhances my life in so many ways that I wouldn't have thought. I probably would have quit Crux a couple of different times if it wasn't for her, because having her support and encouragement has made me want to continue. And I mean, that in and of itself has been a huge positive.
Yeah, I wish we were recording that. That was so good. Because I feel like so many men need to hear that,
Yeah.
I hope, has your audience heard you speak to that?
I might have said something
on podcasts.
That's interesting. I don't know if I've actually said it like that. Yeah.
Because I think you said it a little bit on this, because that was so good. Because I feel like men just kind of need that permission to be like, because I feel like so many men have felt that. Like, why settle down?
Yeah.
But they just haven't been on the other side of it to see, the benefits. And also, they've been in some shitty relationships. They have an idea that women suck.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.